Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to be sculpting. I like this right here. I really like that. And that's the look I'm going to go for with this hair. What I like to do is, cover up any real bad spots first, and we'll go in and add the details later. What I'm going to do here is literally just kind of cover it around. Basically what I want to do right now is cover up all this nasty in the back, and I'll go in and add the longer strands right here. There's several ways you can sculpt hair. I mean, there's really no right or wrong way to do it. The one thing is you don't want to sculpt individual strands. It's almost like you want to sculpt in between the strands. And what I'm doing here, of course, is I wet my fingers. I'm going to smooth it out because it's got fingerprints all over it. Which generally it actually won't matter with hair, depending on the hair. If you want to do realistic hair, it won't matter. Fingerprints won't even show up generally because you're about to go nuts on this hair. So again, always wet your brush. Always make sure there's no stray hairs on it. God. Like I was saying, if you want to do more kind of a, I guess, comic-y anime hair, you can do big fat lines. And you start like that and just kind of, you'll start with the tip and go towards the thicker area, and you see just kind of how this is already coming out, like that Norman Osborn hair if it was kind of, a little more like that. But what I want to do here is go more of a realistic route. So what I do is I do the exact same thing, only I do it a lot of times in like smaller increments. And what's happening is you want to go in the flow of the hair. So everything's coming from up here. Also, with me right now, Dick Grayson has a part, and it's on the right side of his head. For parts, I like to just put a big thick line like this all the way down. From this line, seeing that we're going to be going, something like this, because his hair is going to be parting. And see how I'm not sculpting the hairs individually. I'm just kind of, giving it a good direction. I'm just sculpting it. Let's see if I can get this in focus. See, I'm trying to stay away from hitting that mask. You see how that kind of starts to look like hair. And all I'm doing is basically just pressing down. You hear how that's sticking? That's a good sign that it's like, hey, wet your brush again, or wet your tool. And sometimes you can even do that. You can go a long way. But the danger with trying to go a long streak is you'll start pulling the sculpt, and then if you pull that sculpt, if you rip that sculpt, then it gets real gross and it doesn't look natural, and you start getting, I don't know if you can see these in here, it starts getting real, like, little pieces of sculpt start to flake off, but then they reattach themselves and it looks really bad. So keep in mind right now, this hair is going to be a lot longer, but what I'm doing is just giving it some undertone, because let's face it, hair has so many layers. You're just not going to get around that. I kind of want to keep his ears in sight right now. You got to also take into account articulation. Do you want your character, if you don't care about him looking up, then you can sculpt hair down to the neck. But what I'll be doing is making it flip out. Kind of that college boy hair. So if we wanted a really stupid haircut, we'd be done at this point. But we're not. We need to go in and add a lot of strands. Also, you want to make sure that it curves around the back of the ear here, especially because it's long hair. One thing I wanted to mention was about the individual strands that you can sculpt. and you roll them out, they work really, really, really well for the front part. You see how you can get and yeah, basically all you do is keep rolling them pretty thin, you know, pull a little piece off and roll it to where it's a little more thin, something like that, so you get the little sharp edge that'll come right off and make a point. And let's just for example right here by the ear, let's just kind of press it on. Press it on. And what we'll do is we'll just shape it to where we want it to be. Move this. So now we've got this kind of crazy loose hair just kind of flying out like that. Now you don't want it to be too far out, but you know, bring it in a little bit. Because if it's too far out like that, we'll have to add more to them, more hairs as well. Because if they're like that, they can break off very, very easy. But we're just trying to keep them close to the head. At this point, I've kind of just taken the little twisty method and started going crazy with it. Gives it a nice wispy look. And if you notice, you can take a little piece and just twist it like we've been doing. Let's break this off. We'll take this little piece right here that we've twisted and we'll stick it like kind of randomly right here. And then we'll get up under it. Kind of flick it out like that. So we've got this kind of a stray hair technique. And then we'll mesh this in. So let's take this little wisp here. I don't want to get too emo with my Grayson here, so there we go. We want to mesh it in this side. And there we have it. That's my finished Nightwing head sculpted. Some nice little curls going on in the back here. A little messy on the side. And unfortunately I have to wait about 4 hours for this to completely dry. So till then, wait for it to dry and then I'll go in and paint it.